Hello everyone, Pastor Ian, the Krabby Crafter here, and doing something a little bit different this month because again I don't get these kits quite fast enough. I'm taking the November Simon Says Stamp kit, all right, and not doing an unboxing and going over it. Other people do that. So I just want to do a couple things, show you some things that I've done. We're just going to make a card. We're just going to kind of make cards as we go. I've already done a lot of stuff in the background. I want to take an idea that I saw from Kathy Zielski, and so we're gonna kind of use that a little bit today. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to just color and kind of overlap some of these. Just use the main part of this leaf stencil, and we're just going to kind of color and overlap that. Now I'm going to need to use some of my mint tape, which there it is. And we're gonna do just a little bit of coloring. And yeah, we'll go ahead and put it right there. All right. So all I'm going to do is just pick some different colors. And I love this honey. I really do like this honey. So I'm going to use it. Now off to the side, I've got my little Simon Says Stamp ink cube holder. So we're gonna, it's off to the sides where I'll be getting my ink. I'm going to use my blending brushes. I have them colored. I have them by color. So this is my yellow. So we're going to use this one for the honey. And we're just going to come, we're just going to do some stenciling. We're just going to color this in. And I'm going to have to adjust the camera a little bit. What I've done is I've also brought my camera down closer because I've noticed in all my videos, it just feels like the camera's so far away. And so just wanted to get a little bit closer. So I'm going to have to work on the lighting a little bit more too. Got to make sure I don't get in the way of what the camera's doing. All right, but this honey, such a beautiful color. I love the Simon Says Stamp inks anyways. And these are positively saturated inks, and they really are amazing when they dry especially. So we're going to do this. We're going to put that right there, and I think that's enough for that one. And what I do with my brushes is, and I can leave them. I'll take them and I'll put them on like a rag, and I'll just wipe them off till no more ink comes off. And if you need to, you can spray them with a little bit of water. And I've got a rag. I'm not worried about the color, the stains, or or anything like. It's gonna stain. They're gonna stain. But again, this is my yellow. I use this with my yellows. And as long as it is clean or dry, and you're not going between inks and oxides, dyes and pigments, you're not going to have a problem with that. So just make sure you're aware of what you're doing with your brushes. All right, so I like that. So let's come over here and let's peel this up and lift that off. Oh, that's so pretty. And look what I did there. Apparently I, not paying attention, went right off the edge, didn't I? We're going to have to fix that somehow. I'm sure I'll come up with something. All right. And now we're going to come over here, and we're going to do the same thing with this one, but maybe a little bit different. Let's do that one like that. And we're going to learn our lesson, and we're going to come over here where I might potentially go off onto the card. And we're going to do that. Now, what color do I want to use next? I think, so I want to go with the darker one when I put in the middle. I think, boy, I like the cabbage. Well, I don't know. I think, you know what? I'm going to go with the petunia and then the sangria. I may regret this. I have no idea. All right. Do I want to do the petunia? No, I don't. I want to do the cabbage. I'm going with cabbage. We're going with the cabbage. Okay. We'll get it in a minute. Welcome to my world. Now we're going to come over here, grab my green blending brush, and we're going to get some ink on that. And we're just going to start blending that in. And I'm being a little more careful over here now because since I had that incident a minute ago where I went over, let's see if I can do this without it. I wonder if that looks better. Maybe a little bit. Not really. I got to work on my lighting in my craft room. I'm using a silicone mat from scrapbook.com. I like their mats. Tim Holtz has, he came out with one similar grip mate or grip mat. I can't remember what it was called, but it's basically the same idea. Silicone mats work really, really well to hold down your stencils. You're not going to get slippage, and you can ink right on them, and then when you're done, you just go back over them and you just clean them right off. They clean right off. All right, I think we've done good there. I think I managed to avoid going off and going off onto the cards. I am gonna wet that one a little bit, and then we're just gonna wipe it on our rag there, and you can see no more colors coming off. So we're good. All right, let's put that up. To try and kind of hide that, I could do, that's too much. All right, I'm gonna bring this leaf down here, and we're gonna use just the, let's bring it up right about, yeah, I think right about there. I like that. Well, a little bit more. Okay, I like that. And then we're just gonna tape that down. And because I've got these two pieces over here, where I don't want to make the same mistake I made a minute ago, we're going to put just a little more tape. And that's actually covering, part of the stencil. So there we go. All right. Now for my last color. That sangria is such a deep red, but I'm going to go ahead and use it. The petunia is a little bit of a lighter color, but we're going to go ahead and use the sangria that came with the kit. And for that, we're going to reach over here and grab our nice little deep red brush. And we're going to put some ink on there. And we're going to, how am I going to do this? I'm going to start from the top and just work my way down. Yes, it's going to go over the other colors. We're not worried about that. It's going to give it kind of a layered effect. And I'm working from the outside of the stencils in because I tend to have a habit to go under my stencils. And so I'm trying to get away from that habit. And I did. I just went over the tape and got a little bit on that yellow. I can see where I did it. So, rule for future use, don't be afraid to put more tape down. All right. This is coming nicely. You gotta be careful. I'm about to go off onto the green too. There's a way we can fix that. I'm gonna show you how we'll fix that in just a minute with this card. All right, trying to get that red to... Now, once this ink, the great part about these Simon Says inks is once they dry, they are going to dry smooth. They're going to clear out. So you can see spots in there and everything, but that ink is going to settle, and it's just going to look so much better. All right, I think we're done. I've already messed that one up enough. So let me clean my brush. Where'd my spray bottle? There it is. Let me clean my brush. You can see the red coming off there. And then I just keep doing it until there's no more red. All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm putting just a little bit of ink on my brush, and then we're just gonna tap that all over there. We're just gonna tap. Just to give it that nice little shaded background. And you can do this. I've done this before. Just wasn't sure how it would look on this particular card, but that actually helped cover up my mistakes. Got that yellow up there. We can fix that. Guess how we can fix that? Go and tap over this with some yellow. But first, I'm going to get all the red in. So if you've never done this technique before, and it's to me, it's a little similar to the taking the kind of, it's like when you take a cube and swipe it. Any way you can lay down a background, any way you can lay down a background. I think that's enough. I like that. I really, really, really like that. Boy, that came out even better than I thought. I love that. All right, so let me clean my brush again. It's just tapping the brush into the ink. I don't want a lot of ink on there. It's almost like a dry brush technique. And then we just tap. And you can just go back in there as often as you want. And I'm just tapping in. And these colors are just really nice fall colors. Well, some of them are. But I don't know. I think it works really well. Put the yellow on the yellow. That kind of doesn't really accomplish anything. So let's put some yellow on this green. And what it's actually doing to me is it's kind of mimicking the idea of like when a leaf changes color. So this was just something, and I've had to cover my mistakes before. There's two ways you can do it. This is one of the ways. Like I said, I've done it before. Usually I'll do this with a dry brush, but it's actually working really well with these brushes. It's not going to damage these are super amazing brushes. If I were like driving it down real hard, then yeah, I would be worried about messing up my brush, but I'm not worried about that at all. It's probably not going to show up, but let me put a little bit on the red. Yeah, no, it's not showing up at all. Am I worried about contaminating? I am not. You're picking up ink and putting it down, so. All right, that just came out so good, and you can't even tell where I made the mistakes now. And if you want to, you can do that, and that kind of smudges anything out. That kind of softens everything. Plus pull that yellow through there. Boy, that came out even better than I thought, considering I messed it up. All right, guys, so there is card front number 1. We're not done. I'm going to take a look at something here. I want to figure out how I think with this one. So let's set this over here. Let's go ahead and move my brush out of the way. What I had cut out the thanks. So, and this, I can just flip that over and use that side of the card. So, all right. I cut out the thanks. Let me see if I can pull these into camera. So here's your background. This was using this die right here. Okay, and that's your shadow die, your background. Then you have the actual thanks die. The thanks die is really neat because it cuts out this part, okay, as well as cutting out the letters that all come in the middle. All the letters pop out, okay? And so I did that with, and let me just scoot this over. And I also did it in gold. So I've got all the letters and I've got these board. Now this is neat because what you can do with this, you can do a couple of things. Number one, you can take this, and of course, if you put your letters over it, and we're going to spell thanks, we can do that. But you can actually use this, put that over the top, and just keep the outline of it, okay? And use this kind of as a border, and then you let the gold come through from behind. And that still says thanks. There is a little dot in the middle of the A, so we can pull that out and we can glue that down. We can do that. If you don't lose it, it's a tiny little dot. So I think I've already lost all mine, so I'm not worried about that. There's also a little dot in the K. Same way, you can glue that down, but you don't need it. I can read that just fine. That says thanks. That's really cool. So you can do it that way, which is really neat. You can also just glue this. You can also just put this down right on the card. Just like that. Look at that. See? And you can still read that. You can still read that. You know that that says thanks. The other alternative is you use this as your outline, and then you go back, and let me see if I can find one here. Use that as your outline, and then you put your different colors in the middle. So in this instance, we use the gold with the outline. So you're basically getting 3 different ways. 1, 2, 3, I think 4 different ways of using a die like this, which is really neat. So now I just need to figure out what I want to do, how I want to do this card. So I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to do that off camera so you guys aren't watching my brain work for 10 minutes. Okay, so I think I decided I wanted to do on this one is I wanted to stamp onto that leaf in the middle. I wanted to use the stamp that came with it, and we're going to use, we're using this one here. And so I've pulled off the love and blessings on this Thanksgiving. You can mix and match these, so neat. This stamp set's so awesome. And what I want to do now is, oh, well, I thought I had a grid block handy. Apparently I don't. Where did my grid blocks go? Oh, there they are. Okay. All right. And I keep these handy. I say handy. And I'm going to use one that I think will be big enough to work and give me a little bit of room to kind of see what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm going to use this one. It's a little bit big, a little bit bigger than I need, but it works. So I've got it lined up on the card, and now I'm just going to pick it up, okay? And so that way when I go to stamp, all right, and I'm going to use Simon Says Stamp VersaFine Clear Nocturne Premium Pigment Ink. I love it. And I'm going to go back to the card where I had practiced. I always do this whenever I stamp something for the first time. I like to see how the ink is going to look. And it will be different on the card, but we are using black, so that black should stand out nicely against that. I'm not too worried about that. All right, and so I'm going to make sure I'm getting enough ink on here. I'm always worried because I'm not using a stamping platform, and I freak out. I should use it more often because I'm always freaking out like, oh, I'm not going to get enough ink on there. I'm not going to get the impression I want. And then if I don't get enough ink on there and get the impression I want, you can't redo it again because you don't have a stamping platform. And that looks good. That's stamped up nicely. That looks really good. Yeah, I got plenty of ink on there. With good, crisp quality. That looks good. And so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do this. I really should use my stamping platform. I need to get a Misty. I've got the old Tim Holtz stamp platform, and it works fine and good enough. But everything that's made, all the little pads and different things that are made for the Misty. So it definitely, you know, it just seems like that somewhere down the road I'm going to have to get a Misty. So, all right. So I'm going to pull this down here where I can see it, and I'm just eyeballing it, trying to center it on that leaf, because once we go down, we're down, and we're down. I like these grid blocks. You can press with purpose. You give a little bit of a rock there. You can feel a little bit. Get the ink on there, and then straight up. Oh, that's perfect. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, I love it. I love it. Wipe the ink off of my stamps. Let me hold that up where you can see it. Look at that. Love and blessing. And look at that tap technique. It almost kind of marbleized it. I don't know. It looks really good. I could even, let's see, I could even go back and tap some petunia in there, but I'm not going to. I don't want to mess it up. That just looks really, I love this card. I really like this card, and it just sort of happened by accident. I made a mistake, fixed it, and I love the card. So there you go, guys. There is, and we'll glue that onto a card base, and that will be card number 1. Okay, slight change of plans. I'm not quite finished with this card. I'm going to grab my decal trimmer, and I wanted to show you, I've shown this in other videos. I have cards in my stash that they're just generic cards I get from Hobby Lobby, and you can use them because you can use them as a card base and you just glue right over them, and they're super inexpensive, and especially if you like some of the colors that with them. But what I want to do with this one is I'm going to use my decal trimmer, and I'm going to trim off just a little bit off of each side of this card, and I mean just a little bit, just a little bit. I just want to get that deckled edge. Oh, I love that. Man, I love that look. I love how that looks. And so we're going to trim off all the way around just a little bit. Let's turn that. And now let's see. Let's gotta get that just there we go. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to do the same thing with this bottom piece. And I'm just eyeballing it because I don't want to take off enough much. I just want enough to decorate the edge. Okay. I got this on a deal. I don't even remember how I got it, when I got it, but it was a deal on scrapbook.com maybe, or maybe it was Simon Says Stamp. I don't remember, but I love my little deckled edge trimmer. I've grown to love it. All right, let me put that off to the side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take, and notice what happens when we use this card. When I put this on it, look, I've got that really nice border. So I love that greenish border on the outside of this card. This just looks so good. All right, so we've got that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab somewhere around here. I have a tape runner. Let's see if this is the one that's still working or if this is the one that's not working. Oh, it's working. I've got a tape runner that died on me. Still has plenty of tape in it, but somehow or another it got gummed up. And yeah. All right, so we got that. I'm going to come over here and we're just going to kind of eyeball it. And I like that. And then we just press it down. Doesn't have to be perfect. Got that green around the edge, but again, that's part of the deckling of it. Look at that card. Look at I love that deckled edge. I love the way that looks on the card. And then you can stamp, write your sentiment on the inside. The back's got the nice color. That just came out really well. So I really like this card. I do have other cards, like for instance, they've got this one. We'll use this on another card. Okay. So we like that. Now, some of your cards, if you try to use them, they have a pattern on them front and back, so you can't use them because you'll kind of, I mean, let me see, like here's the butterfly. See, it's blank on the back, but I have another one that has like wheat on the front, but it's also on the back. So you have to just, when you're buying your cards, just make sure you're paying attention to that. But look at that. What a beautiful card. There's card number 1. All right, so for card number 2, let me show you what we've done. A couple different things here. I had some 6x6 card bases in my stash, which works great because the paper is 6x6. It's actually, the card bases actually turned out to be like 5 3/4. So I had to trim them down a little bit. What I did was I cut out a piece of regular cardstock because this is paper. It's lightweight paper. It's not like cardstock. All right, but I cut out a piece of white card. I cut them both out together, and I'm going to glue them together. That's going to give me some stability. We're actually going to make a shaker card with this one. I apologize for that shadow. Let me see what happens if that helped. Well, that helped only a small amount. Anyways, but we're going to make a shaker card out of this. I did use the stencils to make this leaf. It's okay. I like it. It's not my favorite, but I like it. I like the way it turned out. We're gonna do something to that. We're gonna be a shaker card, so this is just gonna go in the background anyways. But I wanted to show you what I did because I wasn't recording this. The papers that came with this kit, I mean, were just so amazing. They lend themselves so well to cutting out and using the paper pad themselves, using the paper itself for your leaves. I mean, look at that. It's already, I mean, it's just so beautiful to me. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this over here. Let's see if we can't get a little better. There we go. Oh, I like that better. So you see, I cut these out of 4 different sheets of paper, and we're going to take this one, is one of the ones we cut out, and we're going to turn this into a shaker card. This one was also cut out, but what I'm going to do with it is you can actually cut one out and then glue a different one in there, and it gives you that nice little contrast. Look at that. So that's actually what we're going to do with that one. So, all right. So that being said, I just wanted to show you that before I started working on this one. So here's what we need to do, because I actually did this wrong. I didn't do this the way that I should have done it. I should have glued this onto the cardstock first and then cut it out, but I actually had to do it. I actually had to cut out, go back and cut out the cardstock. That's okay. So now the trick is we just gotta get this glued together. And then we're going to take a piece of acetate and put it underneath it to make our shaker window. And we're going to flip over our, all right. Make sure your acetate is clean. I got a little something on it there. So what I want to do, okay, is make sure when I glue it down, I glue it in such a way that if you do accidentally get something on your acetate, it won't show up. That looks good. That looks good. All right, and we're going to do the same thing I did a minute ago. Let me see is there any more life in this bottle? I really don't think there is. No, yeah, there's enough. Okay. Same as before. Grab our acetate, and we press it down. There we go. There's our acetate. I'm going to wait till it dries because I can go back and clean that off. And we're actually going to do something with some spatter on that. So it might look a little rough right now, but it won't once we're all done. All right, we are back. So I've got my card base. I went ahead and glued my leaf on it. So next thing I want to do is I need to prep my front and get it ready. Let me go and make sure there's no gunk on my glass mat. So we're going to prep the front. And we're going to use foam tape for this so that we can, have an actual shaker card. I want to try to decide. I think I've got a little bit thicker foam, but I'm just going to use this. So what I do to start is find my scissors. Is I go ahead and cut my outer strips that we're going to use to mount it to the actual card base. I'm not too worried about the ends touching up or anything like that right now. We're more concerned about, I'm going to make them touch, but I'm like I say, this is just about laying the base part down. There we go. And then we're going to go frame around the maple leaf itself. I went ahead and cut this one just because it's easier for me to do that. I cut a little bit long. Now we got a little gap there, but we're not worried about that. The way we fix that is we put this piece right here. Okay. All right, so we got that part basically done. So then when we put this over it, you can see what it's going to look like. We're going to fill that. But now we got to do is we got to enclose this a little bit because we don't want the shaker pieces going all, and we also don't want stuff falling out. So this one's a little tricky because of the design. So we're just going to get a little creative here. And I'm actually going to leave the bottom part. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut me a long piece here. And just sort of just figure out how I want to run this. And it does bend, and I'm just running it up around the edge like that. And we're going to come in this way and see. Ooh, that's actually, look at that, that's almost perfect. Look at that, got that right up to the top. So I like that. So now I'm going to cut another piece. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start here and bend it around this way. And I got to close in that little gap. There we go. Now you just got to figure out what we want to put in our shaker card. Okay, that's the key. And honestly, just because of, number one, it came with the kit. Now here's what I am going to do, because I always forget this. I'm going to take my powder tool and I'm going to powder around the outside of this. And what I'm doing is and I'm going to actually powder in here too. Any of the sticky that's on the edges, okay, when we lift up the tape, that's going to bind to the paper. But sometimes you've got these side pieces here and they want to grab hold of your glitter. So this powder is preventing that from happening. It's going to prevent that from happening. So we're going to do that. And then I'm just going to use the glitter that came with the kit. But I want to add something else to it. So let me run and check my stash real quick. All right, so I've got a couple things I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this leaf over here. I found these adhesive pearls in my stash. These little round, little robin redbreast adhesive pearls, which are just so pretty. And I thought, well, you know what? Let's put those on our leaf, just because. Give it a little color, give it a little something. And I'm not really caring about where I put them. I'm just popping them on. Like this bright red one here. Let's put him there. And let's put another, let's pop one of these green ones right here. And one more up there. And I'm just popping them on wherever. Just because I really like them. There we go. All right, so now we've got those. And that's also going to give our embellishment something to bounce off of. So, all right, now, how do I want to do this? Let me take a look here. Yep, let's think that's what I want to do. Okay, so I'm going to go over here. I've got some of these really neat little sequins. I think I want to use, we got gold glitter. I'm just going to use some of my gold sequins. And so we're just going to just pop a few right there in the middle. Like that. I think I'm going to add a couple of these light ones too. I like that. And then we're going to grab our glitter. And very, very carefully with the glitter. Now, normally I would use a glitter spoon, but since I don't have a glitter spoon, we're just going to sprinkle the glitter right there. Very carefully. Now when we go to put the top on, there's going to be some static electricity. We're going to work on that. We'll show you what we're going to do about that. All right, so that's ready to go. I'm gonna go back to my powder tool, come back in here off camera. I'm gonna put a little more powder on the acetate. That's going to help reduce that static electricity. Now, I'll go ahead and start pulling got to pull all of the tape strips off here. This is not my strength, by the way. It's definitely not something that I do a lot of, but I'm working on it because I've gotten so much more in my stash now that just lends itself to being used as a shaker card. And so I'm working on making more shaker cards. Okay. Now we're going to pull this down here, and then very carefully we're going to come over the top of this, line it up, and press everything down. And there's our shaker card. Look at that. And when everything floats to the bottom, you've got those little pearls glued in there. Now, what used to bother me is when I would put the powder on there and you could see it, and it would also kind of, sometimes the tip of the brush, it would kind of scratch the acetate. But here's what I've learned. Once you put all that stuff in there, you don't notice it anymore. You can't even see it. No matter how you turn it in the light, you can't see it. And so, look at that. Isn't that just the prettiest thing? And some of the pieces that get stuck down in there, we're not worried about that. It's a shaker card. Oh, got them all loose. Look at that. Oh, this is so much fun. So much fun. All right, we're not quite done with this. We need to put something on it. So what I'm going to do on this one is I think we're going to use one of our thanks. And I'm trying to decide if I want to... I just don't, I like that, but I don't want to, ooh, I kind of like putting it off to the side like that. I like that. I'm going to do that. That's what we're going with. We're just going to do that. I'm going back to, all right, so let me grab now my fine tip applicator. This is Barely Art glue. And let's see if I can get this flowing. There we go. And just little tiny taps of glue. It doesn't take a lot. This glue works really well. And I've got to clean it. Yeah, let's see. That fine tip applicator works really well. But if I don't use it enough, it does get a little bit clogged. I just heard it do a clog burp, which lets me know that something was trying to come out. So there's a piece in there that's not. So let's do that. And let's see if I can get that flowing again. There we go. I love this fine tip applicator. All right, I think we're good. Grab that and flip that, and we're going to put it right there. And we're just going to press it down. And that glue works amazing. All righty. I think, let me clean up let me put my pen back in the tip of my glue here. We'll clean this later off camera. It needs to be cleaned out. I'll rinse it out real good and get that flowing again nice. So we're going to do that. There's that thanks. Now I am just looking real quick to see if by any chance, no, I don't see, looks like all the little dots. Okay, so if I wanted to dot where the A would be, or even where the K, there's supposed to be a little dot up there, I could. But you can read that. You know what that says. When you see that, it's just a really neat silhouetted thanks. And we've got this beautiful little shaker card. And actually, you know, and we've got the leaf that we stenciled in the background. And that is card number 2. Oh, and the neat thing about it is they can stand it up on their desk. They can stand it up on their desk. So there we go. All right, so for our third card, we're going to take one of the papers that where we had cut out the leaf. And I've got to cut it down to fit I'm going to use the 6x6, which is actually 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to cut this down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just 1/8 of an inch off all the way around using my decal trimmer because I just really, really love the decal trimmer. I love what it does. And it's going to give us a nice white border. Now I got to go down to 5 3/4. And flip this around. And we go down to 5 3/4. So we've got that deckled all the way around. And what we're going to do, we're going to mount that onto this card. So when we put it right here, so cut it perfect. A little bit of that white's going to show around. I don't care. I like that look. I think that looks awesome. So we're going to keep that. We could have shaved a little bit more off, but I'm not worried about it. So next time I probably will do that just a little, but it's really neat the way that you can still see, even the way it is, you can still see that the edge is deckled, even though it's going onto a square piece. So that's awesome. All right, so I like that. But what we're going to do here is I'm going to stamp into the middle of this one. We're going to use our stamp set. And I'm going to see what fits. This is where I want to practice. I need to lay some things out. I need to see what's going to fit. I like these little pieces coming up here. I do like the Happy Thanksgiving. However, I don't think it's going to fit. And we may not use the wheat. Yeah, the Happy Thanksgiving is going to kind of be its own little. Yeah, actually, if I put it just like that, Happy Thanksgiving. Let's save the wheat for another card. And let's see, Happy Thanksgiving. I wonder if this will fit. I wonder if I can make this fit. Love and blessings. Ooh, I like that. It does fit. All right, so we got Happy Thanksgiving, love and blessings. And what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this down first. That way I can line my stamp up, and then once I get it lined up and ready, we can stamp that, and that will look really good stamped in there. But I also want to shade that a little bit. So here's what we're going to do. Let's put this off to the side. And what color do I want to use? I think I want to use, boy, that sangria is just so, I'm going to stick with that honey because I really like this honey color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my blending brush. I could grab a bigger one. No, I'm just going to stick with this. I'm gonna grab my blending brush here, and we're gonna just soften the inside of this card. So I'm starting very light-handed, very light-handed. It's the neat thing about these brushes is if you just set them on there, it's not going to leave a mark. You actually have to start pressing to get the ink to come off. See? I can, you know, so it's really, really neat. And then once you get it rolling, you can start working it a little bit more. I love this honey. It's reminiscent of a couple of the Tim Holtz oxides and colors that I like. Spice marmalade, I love spiced marmalade. And he's got another one now that I love, and I can't remember what it's called. That's hilarious. Oh well. It'll come to me. And I'm okay, and I'm going to show you this in a minute. I'm okay with the sort of the splotchiness of it. Again, when these inks dry, they do tend to dry a little smoother around the edges anyways. So let's see. Oh yeah, that's perfect. I need a little up here and a little down here. So we're gonna add that right there. And then we're gonna add a little down here. I think that's about where that stem was. Find out in just a second when I put it back on. And this isn't even like a blendable cardstock paper. Like this paper, this is just cheap cardstock. I mean, it's just a card base. But these inks, and that's part of the reason too why the inks act the way they do, because the paper and the fibers, it grabs the ink in different places, but it's still going to dry amazing. I think that's going to do it. All right. Yep. Yeah, that's got it. That's got it. All right. Make sure that snaps shut. If I'm, and these are pretty much all these brushes, I use these. I will use these for Simon Says Stamp. I will use these brushes with oxides and inks because I keep them clean, so I'm not worried about contamination, but I won't go directly from an ink to an oxide or vice versa. You can go from ink to oxide, but if you don't want to go from oxide to ink, because if there's any oxide, it will contaminate your ink pad. But I keep them, you know, I keep them clean enough, even with the stain and everything. But for the most part, I actually have a set of they're black brushes, a whole set of different sizes. They're all black. I use those specifically for my inks. And then oxides and my Simon Says Stamps, I'll use my colored brushes. All right. That is so pretty. So, so pretty. All right. Now I want to try to figure out how I want to. We'll use a tape runner. I'll use a tape runner. Just because it's paper on thin paper. And I'm looking to make sure that I've got enough. It's going to make sure that these, I don't want the edges of I don't want the little corner pieces to come up. That looks good. I should have used my glue dots, but this works. Okay. Boy, that's some good glue. There go my finger. There we go. All right. Let's bring this over here. Make sure I'm oriented the right way. And then I'm going to very carefully put that down. There we go. Yep, there we go. Yep, that's good. And if you find that there's an edge that's coming up, you can go back with a little bit of a little bit of your fine tip applicator and just kind of stick a little glue under there. Tim has a technique. In fact, I'll go ahead and show you that technique because there's one place that I'll go ahead and show you that because it's a really neat technique. These two little pieces here are trying to stick up and I don't want them to stick up. These are actually fine. Those went right down. But right there where it's trying to stick up, or it's trying to come up, and I can see it. So here's what Tim does. We take tiny piece of cardstock, card paper, a little piece of scrap, all right? And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take just a little bit of collage medium, and you're gonna put it on there just like that. And you're going to just slide it right under there just like that, and then press down. So I don't know if you've ever seen that technique before, but it works wonders. And we're just gonna press and hold it. Takes just a couple of seconds for that to dry. I'm gonna come over here. Actually, I've still got enough glue on there. I don't even have to go with more glue. And you just press and pull. And it pulls the glue right off the paper, connects to the bottom, and there you go. So if you ever have a little edge, instead of trying to use your tweezers, like Tim says, and lift it up, and then you risk bending the paper, that technique right there. I don't know how many of his videos I've watched, and I'm gonna tell you right now that that technique is, on any given day, the top technique that I've learned from him. It's always in the top 5, but on any given day, it's the top technique. So we've got our deckled edge. You see how the white shows through? I'm okay with that. If I wanted to, I could throw this thing back in the trimmer and trim these edges, but could have glued it down and then trimmed the whole thing, but not the top, because then your card wouldn't, you know. So neat thing about this card, again, this is another one that will stand upright. So we've got that where we want it. So the last thing we want to do on this card is we do want to get our sentiment. We want to get our sentiment stamped. So let's get our words and let's line them up. So we want our Happy Thanksgiving. And I want that to fit right there. And then we're going to do the love and blessings. We're going to pull that down just a little bit right there. Let's grab our grid block. Pull it up. Okay, now, same as before, we're going to use our VersaFine. And now that I know how these stamps and how the ink works, I'm not worried about doing a practice run, if you will. I've already done the love and blessings, but this is the first time I've done the Happy Thanksgiving. So we're just stamping, and I'm probably over stamping. You're not gonna, unless you just press and just ooze ink onto the stamp, it's not a problem. If you got a super fine detailed stamp, then number one, I will use this ink, but I also have another ink that I used that Simon Says Stamp has for the fine detail ink. I use the Intense Black, the Creative Intense Black. But this is great for, this particular ink is great for fine detailed stamps. I think it's the one that they always recommend. So all you're doing is just making sure you're getting plenty of ink on the stamp. But like I said, you don't have to worry about, unless you just press it down, ink's not going to ooze out onto the stamp and make a mess. And then, you know, so, all right. So I got to eyeball this now. That's about right. And down we go. Let's press with purpose. We're not over pressing, but I'm just letting the ink transfer from the stamp to the paper. I'm reaching out, making sure I'm getting the edges. And then we're going to lift. Oh, that is absolutely gorgeous. I love this stamp. I love this card. Oh, I love when you have an idea and then when you finish the idea, you're like, oh, it looks amazing. Oh my gosh, that honey with that rust around, and then that black Happy Thanksgiving love, it just pops. It looks so amazing. Boy, you know, I don't want to mess it up. I'm tempted to use this tarnish brash and do a little spatter, but I'm not going to. If I wanted to, I would, in fact, no, I'm not going to. I'm saying, I think I have another card, but I don't. I think I had another one of these cut out, but I don't, because I've already trimmed it up for other stuff. So that being said, we're gonna have to find a way to use that now, because now I'm dying to spatter something with that tarnished brass. Okay, and use the glossy accents and some more of the glitter. So that right there is card number 3. There you go. That is so, I can't stop looking at it. I got to hit stop on the record. I can't even. I can't even. All right, card number 3. All right, guys, our next card is a super, super simple card. So I've got my card base here. Again, this is just one of my card bases. Don't worry about those because we're going to cover those up. And all I'm going to do is we're going to take this beautiful metallic, I love that truck bed looking. Yeah, and I actually like this side too. But I think I'm going to, well, let's just look. Let me double check. I like that. Let me see, do I prefer? No. For what I'm doing, I like that. So we're going to go with that. Okay. So this one's super easy, super, super easy. And we are going to use one of the thanks. And we'll put that together on camera. We'll do that. So let's go ahead and get our tape here. And we're gonna, and I just said I wasn't gonna do that, and I just put the tape on the wrong side. But guess what? I've got another one. So I guess we are gonna use this side, but I actually want that lighter side to be at the, I'm actually gonna, yep, we're gonna do this one completely different. So let me go ahead and put this down. Boy, that aggravates me. Just a little bit, but not enough. Not enough to turn full-blown Krabby Krafter. Not today. Alrighty. Yes, I have one of those stupid laughs. Yep. Okay. Nope. We're gonna save that. All right. Let's set this off to the side. Let me grab another card base and let me use. Well, now that we've done that, where is? All right. And see, I like this because the color matches, but because I'm in that mood, I'm going to do something just a little bit different. Just a little bit different. I'm not going to decal the left side. Okay, so 4 1/4. So let's go ahead and let's pull off. Let's just pull that almost down to 4 inches there. Just a little bit more than 4 inches. Let's do that. But I am going to decal the top and bottom. Okay. 5 1/2. We'll do 1/8. And then we'll spin it around and we'll do another 1/8. There we go. You know, it's funny how you have a tool, you don't use it, and you pull it out, and then you can't stop using it. That's pretty much where I am right now with this trimmer. So what I'm actually going to do is we're going to run that flat back flush with that, and we're going to leave that edge just the top and the sides. We're not going to. Oh, yes, I am. I'm going to go ahead and center it. Even though that edge is smooth, that doesn't bother me. And I like the little deckled edge there. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. All right, so let's go ahead, flip it over so we don't make that same mistake. And let's get our... All right. Just a little bit shy on the left because I want the decal to show through a little more. All right, that's too close to the, there we go. Actually, I'm going to do it this way so that I can make sure I've got the decal where I want it. Yep. That's it. That's it. Boom. There we go. All right, and that color just really works well with this particular paper. So now we're gonna throw our leaf on there, and the leaf, we're just gonna glue it straight down. And to keep it simple, we'll just use our collage medium. Well, you know what? Yeah, We're going to use our collage medium. So all I'm doing, I'm not using it like a fine tip because it's not. But what I'm doing is I'm not squeezing the bottle. I'm just letting it kind of dance out around the edges. Again, the beauty of collage medium, I mean, barring the putting down a massive giant glob of it, it shrinks when it dries and it dries clear. So if it goes out from underneath your paper, you're not going to notice it. And when you press it down, it is going to spread out and grab those edges. So, all right, so we got that. I like that. Let me use my tweezers and figure out, because I want this one just a little bit off center, just like that. There we go. There we go. Press out, push that collage medium to the edge. That and Simon Says Stamp has come out with this Positively Perfect craft glue. I mean, I don't want to call it collage medium, but I feel like it's designed to do the same thing. This is great too. I use and this one has a little bit of, I think, of a finer tip on it. It does. I've used this a lot too. I'll be ordering whatever's on sale. That's what I will buy. That's what I will use, because this works to me. I think they have different purposes. I know this, I would definitely use this when I use it to seal a project and I want to go over it with distressed crayons. I'm not sure how this will work, but I'll treat this very much like a Mod Podge, and I'm pretty sure you could do the same with this. But I do love both of those. All right, so there we go. So we got that done, and now what we're going to do on this one is we're going to do one of the things. So let's go ahead and assemble these. I've got a couple of them here, so I'm going to go ahead and assemble them with you guys. And I saw what somebody else did, and it was pretty neat, but it was also too much work. So I'm not going to do it that way. And since we just talked about the Positively Perfect, no, I want to stick with this, because this is definitely it's my fine tip applicator, and it's definitely going to give me the ability to control my little drops of glue a little bit more. So we're going to take that, and we're going to, all right, it's trying to, there we go. And we're going to put that right there. So we just eyeball it, line it up. It does break up the letters. So now we've got to do the A. So it's very interesting that it didn't cut it out as one solid word. But again, it's because, I don't know what the design was, but as a result of that, you do get the potential for 3 very different types of sentiments. All right, there's the A. If you're not sure where to line it up, the tops is your best way to do it. The A lines up very well. And there we go. Now you do want to be careful when you're working with glue on this metallic craft stock. It doesn't grab right away, and the glue, to me, I think I got a little glue there, it really does, unless you're using collage medium, and even then I've noticed that on this metallic craft stock, it tends to kind of, well, I don't want to say it messes it up, but I don't like the way it comes out sometimes. All right. So our end's going to go right there. So let's go back here. And I'm going to try and be a little more precise with this one. And you'll notice I'm not putting very much glue on here. I mean, it might look like a lot. I don't know. This glue works really, really, really well. So there is the end. And I'm going to try and press it down and not move it. Put it right where I want it and leave it. And it still wants to slide on that metallic craft stock. I think next time I do this, I'm going to use my grip mate, because I'm getting way too much movement on this on this glass, but that grip mate will hold my base in place and allow me to do that. Now, I don't know, when you turn, it's fine. When the light hits it, you can see that looks amazing, but I can see the places where the glue kind of hit, and I'm just not a fan of that. So I'm going to do another one, but I definitely don't like the way that this one is coming out so far. Now I have one small dilemma. I don't know how to do this S. That looks the same to me. Let me come over here and grab my little outline. And let's see. All right, so it doesn't go that way. So that must mean that this is the top of the, yep, there it is. Okay, so that S is a little tricky. If you lose track of what you're doing, make sure you have an outline handy so you can just go up, there's the top. Or when you're, you know, when you're laying out your pieces, just don't let it get spun around or whatever. Okay. And then we're going to put the S right there. And I'll press and hold. Press and hold, press and hold, press and hold. Trying to be super, super careful with this. There we go. And there is our thanks. Now, I don't mind this. I'm noticing, though, that I guess the colors on the gold, it kind of does kind of want to blend in. It works for me, but I think I would probably use, instead of using this particular paper like I had cut it out, might have worked better if I'd have cut it out with a paper like that. I think might have looked a little better. We'll see. But I do like that. And we are going to do the thanks sideways with the leaf. Because, again, that's one of the things I do. And, honestly, I think we're going to raise that up. I think we're going to use our, whatever this stuff is called. We're going to use our foam strips, foam tape. And we're going to raise it up. There we go. Okay, sorry, I forgot to talk. I get focused and I forget I'm recording. So, and there you go, guys, just that easy. That's probably one of the easiest cards you can make with the kit. Didn't require anything else other than the card base. You know, and you could, you know, and I did use the decal trimmer, but yeah, just that, the leaf, and just so neat. And I do love, it's one of the things I love about this die set. I love that it came with the stencils and you can color in, but if for no other reason, I will use this. You can color, take a big sheet of watercolor paper and just ink it up with fall and autumn colors, and then just cut out leaves. Just cut leaves out to your heart's desire. In fact, we're probably going to do that towards the end of this, do a little bonus thing, because what I want to show you a technique that I think I'm wanting to try, and we're going to see if it works. But I may do that on a totally separate video, but we'll see. But I love this die. I love that die, even if you don't use the stencils. All right, so there you go, guys. There's card number, I think, 4. All right, so this is the card I messed up, and I've got an idea. And what I'm going to do with this card, let me grab my small one. Let me grab my small, got to move a few things here, my small splatter box. And let's put that right there. And I'm going to adjust my light where hopefully we can see a little better. All righty. And get it to stop wanting to fall down. There we go. And what I'm going to do is, and I'll work off camera just a little bit. Here we go. We're going to take our distress paint. You want to shake it up. And this is tarnished brash. So I'm going to shake it up. And everybody has their own way of doing spatter. I honestly, I don't know. I've tried everything, So we're just going to go with the spatter brush. It's not my favorite. I think I got a bad one when I bought it. I feel like the bristles aren't compact enough. But anyways, I'm going to take this, shake up our paint nice, and then all we're going to do is we're going to put just a drop over here. Well, did I not open? I may not have. Oh, you know what would help is if you actually took the seal off of the paint. There we go. Let's try that again. Let's try that again. And let's put just a drop. That's more than enough. And I'm going to, just a little water, not too much. And then I'm going to squeeze the bristles together because, again, because of the way this one is. And then we're gonna splatter that on there. Okay, and I'm looking to see if I'm getting enough, and it doesn't look like it, so let's, all right, and I think I need more paint and more water. Now it's working. You can't see, I just blocked that. Let me see, it's working, but it's such a fine spray. You can see some of that gold spatter. I want more. So let's put another drop and some more water. And let's really, that's much better. Yep, there we go. Now we're getting some big drops, and I'm trying to do, I'm having to do it left-handed. I should have put the ink on the other side, the paint on the other side. All right. And I don't care if it hits the paper, that actually might help it. Oh yeah, that does. That actually helps, letting it hit the paper. Okay, now what that's done is that's taken this particular paper and given it a nice brass, shiny brass texture, but I still want more. So I'm gonna do this right here. And this is another technique that I've used, and I like it. And then I'm going to thoroughly saturate this with some water, get that moving, and try a little bit. There it is. All right, now I get my big drops. So here's the key. Lots of water. Yes, lots of water. Much better. Much better. Much better. I'm trying to make sure I stay in camera for you guys. Sorry. I'll do better next time. Okay, that looks perfect. That's what I want. All right. All right. So I don't do a lot of spattering either, and I just learned that when you're using distressed paint, more water, more water, more water, more water, more water. Please, sir, may I have some more water? Okay. Let's get where that water went up underneath my mat. There we go. That's a well-used mat. Okay. And everything's nice and dry. Let's pull this back over here. And you can see the difference now. You can see the difference now. Let's go ahead and pull this back out of the way. Look at that beautiful gold brass. I say gold, that brass spatter. And as it dries, when you hold it a certain way, you really can't see it. But when the light hits it, it's absolutely stunning. And we're going to cover most of it up. So what I'm going to do is I don't want to cover that much up, and we are going to use this leaf. So I think what I'm going to do is I want to trim this in half. And guess what? Guess what we're going to trim it with? Guess what I'm going to trim it with. All right. So I'm going to take this. How big is that? So was that about an inch? It's an 1.75 inches. Let's make this. Let's take this down to an 1.25 inches. And we're going to now. I may change my mind, but we'll see. Because what I have now is 2 pieces, both deckled. So my question is, I trimmed this down, and I still feel like that's too much. So we're going to set that aside, and I'm actually just going to use, and I feel like that's too little. I don't know. I can't decide. I probably should have cut it in half. All right, we're going to keep that and use that for something else. Let me go back to the big piece here. I don't want to use it anymore. I was going to do that, but I like the speckle, and I don't want to mess it up. And we're just going to add the leaf. Now, the reason I spattered first is because I didn't want the spatter on the leaf. And I think that's what that's what we're going to do. And we are going to add a thanks to this one of the thanks as well. We'll put that together. But I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to leave that. All right, I'm going to let that dry just a little bit longer, and I'm going to clean up a little bit more, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up this card. All right, so this is nice and dry. Look at that beautiful spatter. Just this paper is amazing, and it works really, really well with the paint that came with the set. Where did the paint go? Oh, there it is. Okay. Just for a second there, I thought I was going crazy. Probably am, but for totally different reasons. All right. So we're going to put this here. I was going to put this on there, but I'm still trying to decide if I want to. Yeah, I like it. I like that little bit. Now that I've walked away and come back, I like that. So we're going to put that on there. So let me grab my glue. And I'm using the fine tip applicator. I cleaned this thing out. I did the whole thing, and it's still wanting to. All right. There it is. Now it's flowing. And we're going to take, we're going to pull that, we're going to put that right there. Yeah, the thin one worked. I like that. There we go. I like that. Just gives it just a little bit of texture off to the side. Now we're going to grab this, and we got to put glue on it. There we go. And so you can see how fine this is. It is a fine tip applicator. And I love this. I use it, unfortunately, I use it like when I'm doing a larger piece like this. So it doesn't look like a lot of glue's going on, and it's not. But the glue works. I mean, the glue is just really good glue. So it doesn't really matter. I could have used collage medium, but all right, and we're going to put this right there. There we go. Press out, and that glue makes a good connection. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. I love mixing and matching these papers, cutting out the leaf out of the other paper and putting it over this paper. That gold spatter. It's got me wanting to do more. spatter. Look at that, looks so good. All right, and we're gonna put a thanks on this one. So let's see, how do I want to do this one? No, nope, that's not gonna work. Now you could just do the letters. I think what I want to do on this one is, yeah, I think we're gonna make another one of these. So let's get that. Let's get all our letters in place. I want to do a gold. Yeah, because we use the gold spatter, I want to do the gold thanks. That is done. So I'm going to hold that up where you can see it. And see it works, the tone on tone. And we're going to just put that on to the leaf there, just like that. So let me go ahead and flip that over. And let's get some glue. There we go. And we're going to put that on just a little bit crooked, just because, again, I just like doing that. All right, let's press that down, give that a second, because we are working with the specialty paper and the coatings in the back. Even on the backs with the glue, it reacts a little different, so going to make sure that stays down. I could always put a block on it if I want, but that's actually, looks like that's working just fine. Yep, that is just fine. And there we go. So I'm going to come over here. And there you go, guys. There's card number 5. Really enjoying this. And you could stamp in the inside here. We could stamp on there if we wanted to. But I'm going to keep these with the thanks. Keep the inside blank. Gives me room to use the card for multiple purposes. So there's that card. Let's get ready to make another one. Okay, for this one, going to be pretty straightforward. I'm actually taking a card base that's already made, and all I'm going to do with this one is I'm just going to add to it. I like that look. I like that wheat look, so we're just going to add to it. What I'm going to come over here is I'm going to reach into my archival, and I'm going to grab my ground espresso. And we're going to ink that up. Yes, oh, look at that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful brown. Okay. And I'm just going to go leap of faith with this one. We're not going to stamp or practice stamp this. And I'm going to put it right on the card right there, just like that. And then we're just going to lift that off. I love it. Super simple, super subtle. I think the only thing I would have done different maybe was raise the ribbon up above that a little bit, but that's okay. That looks good. And if I wanted to do a second generation, I actually could. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clean off. It won't all come off, but I'm just wiping off the bottom. So I'm not using stamp cleaner, but that is archival. So I'm actually going to get some of that off from the bottom. So I don't want that ribbon to show through. Then I'm going to take and I'm going to stamp just the top. Just that wheat. And then we're going to bring that over here. And we're going to stamp that just like that. Oh, I love it. That looks so, so good. Now I wish I hadn't done the ribbon, but that's okay. All right, so we've got that. And the reason I want to do this is because sometimes, you know, I don't know if you've ever gotten like if you ever bought a box of cards and you thought, well, these are really neat. And most of the times they come ready to go. But I like to often add to them. And you can do that just by stamping, just like this. Now, what I want to do now is they have these really neat sentiments at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this. It's a little small, but I like it. I like what it says, so I'm going to use it. And it's the one that says, sending heartfelt blessings from our family to yours. I'm just going to stamp that like right across the top there. Actually, I'm going to put it right there. Because I'm trying to decide. Let me take a look real quick here. Let's see. Sending warm, heartfelt wishes from our home to yours. All right, you know what? Let's try it. Let's just see if this is going to line up. Let's put the Happy Thanksgiving right there. And let's put this right underneath it. Yeah, it's a little too close. The wheat's up a little too high. So I'm going to just stick with my original plan, which was just to use this. And I'm going to do that. I am going to do this. I'm gonna leave it in. I'm gonna leave it in the ground espresso. Turn it. I was just about to stamp upside down. That would not have been good. And then we're going to just stamp. And lift. And that's so subtle. I mean, it's so subtle, but it works. Sending warm, heartfelt wishes from our home to yours. And then we've added the little wheat there. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you, it's bothering me just a wee bit. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to take one of my little markers, and I'm just going to color that in with just this ever so light shade of brown. This is just a little inexpensive marker. I use these a lot. And I like this. This is a lighter shade of brown. And it's just to color in that ribbon to keep it from having that weird kind of, the way it's laid over the other, I don't know, it just didn't look right. So I'm going to do this. You could do this with, watercolor pencils, whatever you've got, whatever you need, you could do it with that. I just use a good marker, watercolor marker. This card stock is a very basic card stock. It's not meant necessarily for coloring, so you want to be careful what you use. See, that's going to help. See, I like that already. Yeah. Kind of looked weird the way that it was colored over the other. The way it was layering over the pattern that was already there. So if I were to go back and do this differently, what I would do is, again, I would just stamp like I did that. I wouldn't color in the ribbon. But that looks pretty good. I like that. That works. That saved that enough for me. And this is just a simple little card. And all I did was take a card I already had and I just modified it. If you ever get card kit, if you ever buy card boxes of cards and you want to add a little something to them to personalize them, then this is what you can do. Just throw a stamp on it. Just personalize it. Make it your own. So we're going to set that off to the side. That was super easy. All right, let's grab this card. I love this green card. And I love this right here. And so we need to trim it, right? We need to trim it. So, you guessed it, because we're in that mode. I grab our decal trimmer, and we're going to go, and we're going to trim that down. And let's get that down to 4 inches. Actually, a little bit less than 4 inches. Now, you could keep these strips and use them, but I've got so many paper scraps. That's not even a concern for me right now. Alrighty. There we go. You can tell I'm on a deckled kick. All right, let's see how that looks. I love it. I love it. Now we're going to go back to this. Go back to our stamp set. Let's grab our block. And we're going to do this. This one I won't worry about as much because I'm not worried about the ribbon as much because it's not layering over everything except the pattern there. And this one I am going to go with the archival. Well, you know what? Let me just use my VersaFine Claire. Let me just use let's use the archival black set. Now it's archival. Yes, there's ink on there. I've wiped it off. Okay, that's all I do. I don't clean my stamps until they, unless I really, really need to. This is a new stamp. There's nothing building up on there, nothing I'm worried about contaminating. We're just going to stamp right over that with the black set. And once we get that, I'm going to come over here and we're going to put that right there. And so wait a second, let that ink transfer from the stamp into the paper. And then up we go. Perfect. I like that. I like that. That's a solid image, so that looks really good on there. We're going to go with that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is come over here. And I forgot which one I was going to use. I'm going to do Thankful for You. I'm going to do Thankful for You. And get that where I want it. Pick it up with the stamp block. And ink away. I could have used the VersaFine for this, but this was handy. This was right here, so we're going to use it. And then we're going to stamp it right there. And that's very subtle. I like that though. I like that. You can still read it. It's subtle, but you can read it. It works for me. I like that. Let's put these back over here. I am going to look real quick. Yeah, because I want to put that on there. This one says, to count you among my blessings. And I'm going to put it right there. And I'm going to stick with the archival because I don't want there to be a big difference in the inks if I switch to that VersaFine. could see where some reason it wasn't sticking on part of the stamp, but now that we've got it, that's it. That's it for that. And we're going to put this right here. And there it is. Super subtle, but it works. It works. You don't have to have super bright, super intense, super, well, crisp. It is crisp. You don't have to have these images that are just, I don't even know how to describe it. But you don't need it to be bold black. You can read that. And that's just a really nice, simple card. Okay? So now all we need to do is grab our tape runner. Come over here, line it up, and down it goes. And just like that, you have this beautiful, beautiful card. Colorful. It's a nice thank you card. Thankful for you, to count you among my blessings. You got the little wheat on there, that awesome background from the paper, and we're done. And that was all in the kit, other than the card base again. And there you go. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit this again. What I did was I took the ink cubes and I used the cardstock that came. I wanted to see how it would work, and it's okay. But the green, once it dried, kind of really got lost in the bottom there. You can kind of see it. But all I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my cubes, and I'm going to do it again. I'm just going to do a second layer. And all I did was just run it across just like that. And we're going to do that. That's the sangria. And then this one underneath it was the honey. And we're just going to do that. And we're going to grab the petunia. There we go. And then we're going to grab the cabbage. And the cabbage, and hope it'll darken just a little bit now that there's a base layer on there. But you can see that looks really good. However, once that dries, that's going to dry super light. So what we're going to do is I'm going to let that dry. And I like that, even with that color, even with this color cardstock. I just like the way that looks. So we're going to let that dry. And then we're going to actually I'm not sure quite how I'm going to do it yet. I think we're probably going to may turn it. May do something like that. We'll figure it out. But I just wanted to take a piece of that cardstock and add a little something to it. And actually, I just came up with a completely different idea. I'm not going to use these leaves. We're going to put these leaves to the side. I think we're done using the leaves. I love these. These will go into storage. But I think, actually, yeah. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to do something a little different. So let me get some stuff ready off camera, and then we'll come back and finish this card. Grab my little decal trimmer, and we're going to take this, and I'm going to do this one. Yeah, we're just going to do it like we've been doing all the others. I'm going to go ahead and trim it down. I'm actually going to leave, well, no, can't do that. Actually, let me see if I like the way that looks. I do like the way that looks. We're going to leave that, flush top and bottom, and just have the decal on the side. So I've got this cardstock, our card base, this teal, really kind of pretty color, and I think that works really well with that. So what we're going to do with this one is we're going to utilize our, let me just check that out. Do I want to, no, it's too much. It's too much. So what I'm going to do is we're going to grab our thanks, and we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 different thanks on this card. And we're going to make it look very, very, very unique. All right, so I've got my fine tip applicator. Just making sure we're getting some glue on the parts, especially where there's like where the little pieces are by themselves there. So we want to make sure those lay flat. And we're going to take that and we're going to start by putting, that was stupid. All right, and then we're going to start by putting that on the top bar right there. And of course that grabbed the paper nicely because we're gluing on regular paper now. Okay. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more creative. I'll just have to line things up. The TH. We're going to grab the A. And all we're going to do is we're going to glue down, well, there we go. We're going to glue down the thanks. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it, but I'm just using the silhouette up above as a guideline for where the letters are going to go, but it's kind of hard to get it wrong. Just, there we go. And grab our K. There we go. And then grab our S. So sometimes when I'm making cards, I mean, I don't even see it until I see it. I just wanted to swipe, and I was like, okay, well, and you can see how that green, when it dries, it really kind of gets absorbed more into the paper, but it's still nice. If I wanted to darken that, I could hit it one more time. But for the purpose of this card, it really works. Now we're going to grab our other silhouette, see? And then we're going to put the last gold down at the bottom. So this is just really just utilizing, I had these pieces, I had these pieces cut out, and I could have used them for something else, but I don't know, I just thought this would be really neat. And sometimes you don't know till you make a card. Sometimes you don't know until you do. You don't know until you try. All right. I think we've got that. I'm going to try not to make the same mistake I made up there. And we're going to put the thanks down, and we're going to press down just like that. There we go. All right, I'm going to wait just a second, make sure I got good adhesion. And then the last thing we're going to do, and I could have done this a little bit different. We'll talk about that in just a second. We could have simply put these two thanks right here in the middle, and I could have put these letters inside of the gold and then put the gold letters inside of this, and that would have worked too. But what I'm doing instead is I'm just putting all 4 of the thanks down here. It's a little more work on the card, but I actually like the way this is looking. It's going to be a nice little thank you card, I think. All right, so let's grab our last one. Let's go ahead and get it put down. There's the TH. Just press and hold, press and hold. I'm a little mad because I can see where I got that one crooked. There's no fixing that. The T is kind of angled down, but you know, that's one of the things about a handmade card is you're going to have those. You're going to have those little times where, you know, it's going to look handmade. But listen, I've bought factory-made cards before that had issues, so it's not like I'm too worried about it. All right, THA. Let's grab our N. Yeah, I thought I was a little worried there. I thought maybe I got a little too close to the bottom, but we're going to be okay. And there we go. Let's grab our K. And there's no, again, there's no template here. It's just, you just eyeball it. Just eyeball it. Just glue it down. I got that K a little bit higher than it needed to be, but again, handmade card, people. Handmade card. We're not going to get all Krabby Krafter about that. No, we're not. Okay. Almost there. Let me put my pen back in the top. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I wasn't sure I was going to do it, but I really like the way it, I don't know. I just like the way it's looking. So we're going to go ahead and do it. Now I could do the Tim technique, but for this one, it's just as easy just to go ahead and just do that. There we go. There we go. All right. So we're going to glue that down. I'm going to grab this other one. And we're going to do the same thing. And these were just strips that I had left over from trimming down other pieces. I really like that. I'm glad I decided to do this. I think that's going to look really good. And then we're going to do this last one here. There we go. And this glue dries really fast, especially when there's not a lot of it. So we're just going to press that down. Yep. Looks good. Flip it over and grab my tiny scissors for this one. And we're going to snip and snip and snip. See, again, a card that just sort of happened. I wasn't planning on that, but I actually like the way that looks. Look at that. That's such a nice little thanks card. Love that little deckled edge trimmer. By then, you don't have to have the deckled edge. You could just, you can, when you're framing cards, sometimes, you know, you want the border all the way around. It's okay if this was straight and you could just have the border on both sides. I've done other cards where I've just done them, where I've offset them and left more of a gap like that. You could also edge that to the right, which I'm liking that. I'm actually liking the way that looks. I could do that. I could even just a little bit of that blue edge and just have that down the left side. I kind of like that too. You could also go back and you can, again, you can add a strip or whatever you want to do. There's all kinds of different ways you can do it. But I like, I think I'm going to stick for this card, since I've already got it here, I think we're going to stick with the centered part just like that. And so let's go ahead and grab, well, let me put my, I keep forgetting to put the pen back in the glue after I got it all working nicely there. Let's grab our tape runner. All right. And then we're going to come over here. This one's super easy because we're going to flush it to the top. And this way I can kind of see that my sides are where they need to be. And then we just press it down. And I always like to do that. Just so I'm not worried about when I'm pressing, I'm not worried about messing up the front. You know, if I'm trying to press on the front, I might tear something. And look at that. That was a card that just happened by accident. Just because I was playing with the ink cubes. And I was going to put a thanks. I was going to put a leaf on it. And I was like, no, wait a minute. And I just looked over and I said, let me try that. And then I wasn't going to use these. And then once I got the thanks on, I was like, you know, that does look good. Now when it's all said and done, that's just a really neat looking card to me. That's a great little thank you card. And so there's our next card. That card is done. And I think I'm just going to make one more because I've got this beautiful, beautiful brown card base and this beautiful paper, but I can't quite decide what I want to do with it. So we're going to let this one, we're going to let it germinate and ruminate and salivate and incorporate and whatever. And probably what I will need to do is I'll go back and I'll cut a thanks because I don't have any more. So I think what I may wind up doing is keeping this one super simple. Just put this over that. I think we may go back and grab that metallic cardstock and just put a nice thanks across the front of it. Not quite sure yet. So I'm going to let this one think for just a second, and then we're going to come back and we'll do this, and this will be our last card. All right, so let's work on one more card. And what we're going to do here, I've actually got two more cards we're going to make. What I'm going to go ahead and do with this card is I'm going to use this piece. I've got some brown cardstock, and I really like this craft cardstock. I love this brown, and it just works really well to me with the kind of the metal feel of the papers and everything that came with it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put that strip on here. Well, if I can get it to, there we go. If I can get it to line up, perfect. I'll get that. Flip it over. Grab my scissors and trim that off. There we go. And what I want to do now, before I put the leaf on, is I'm actually going to go back to this. I've got a couple things that I want to do here just to try and use what we're, use what came in the kit. Where did my grid block go? There we go. So I'm going to kind of do what I did before, and because I'm doing on the craft, I'm going to You know what, I'm gonna grab, well, let's stick with the archival. So I'm gonna use my black soot. So I'm staying away from the ribbon on the bottom. Of course, when I stamp it anyways, well, that was fun. When I stamp it anyways, I'm gonna be stamping below towards the bottom, so. Okay, and what I want to do now is I want to add this to the bottom, and so we're just going to put that right like that. Beautiful. Love that. Love that. So I'm going to wipe off the stamp. I may come back to that. We'll see. We may come back and use that again, so I'm just going to set it off to the side for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here. I'm trying to figure out. Okay, I like that. I think that's how we're going to do that. I'm going to let the leaf come over there. Well, was I toying? Yeah, that's what we're going to do. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it. This is where I can stamp it. I'm trying to figure out, because I was going to stamp the leaf, and I think I like the Happy Thanksgiving. I just like the thankful for you. The love and blessings on this Thanksgiving. Grateful for you. I did thankful for you. Let's do a grateful for you. Let's do a grateful for you. So what I'm going to do is put this grateful and then the for you. And we're going to do that. So that's where I want that. And let's go ahead and grab my grid block. And I just realized I do this all the time. I put the pieces back, but I put them on the wrong side. There we go. All right, let's grab our grid block and pick that up. I'm actually going to go ahead and stamp onto the leaf. Yep, and so I'm just going to stamp directly onto the leaf. So let's get our archival ink. Could be using my grip mate here, but I'm not worried about it. All right, and we're going to, let's see, yeah, it's pretty much how we wanted it. And I'm going to run it, yep, just like that. So now that I've got that where I want it, we're just going to put the ink down. And doing it this way allows me, if I'm a little bit crooked on the leaf, I can adjust the leaf so that the writing is straight. The leaf will be wonky, but the writing will be straight. I don't like wonky writing necessarily on a wonky leaf, or something has to be symmetrical. Something has to fit. So we stamp that. Again, I overstamp. I press and hold because I want to make sure that ink transfers. Oh, that's so nice. So subtle. So nice. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. I am thoroughly enjoying this kit. So let's put back my stamps. Okay, put those back over there. All right. And grab my leaf here. And there we go. See, that way I can line it up where the words are straight. Got room to work with. I really like that. I just really like that. This metal and the craft cardstock, adding those wheat sheaths there just really, really, really came out nice for me. All right, so we got that. So all I need now is my glue. So let's grab our glue. Let's see how, oh, it's coming out great today. All right, so I got that nozzle unclogged sufficiently the other night, apparently. Had to take everything apart and run a little hot water through it and run the needle through it and all that. It does not take much of this glue. I mean, you see how little I'm putting on here. They have different tips that come with it, and I've got multiple bottles of this, so probably what I need to do is have one bottle with this fine tip and another bottle with a little bit larger tip, and just switch them out, you know? All right, let me grab my tweezers. And let's put that right there. And we got it lined up where the letters are straight. All right, and that glue just grabs right away. I mean, you see how it just laid down. It just laid flat down on the paper. I love it. It might be a shade crooked, but too late now. All right, let's get that done. And I haven't done it with any of these cards. Maybe we'll do it on the next one. But you could stamp inside the card, put your sentiment inside the card. So there we go. And then this one, even though this is brown, you can still write on it. Still works well. So we grab that, and we're going to throw that in an envelope, and there's another card. Let's set that off to the side. And this is the last card that we are going to be doing. This is the last card. I think we might stamp the inside of that. We'll see. So this one's super easy. Went back and cut out of this metal one another leaf. I've actually got 2 leaves left over, so we'll do something with those. I thought about putting the leaf in the middle. I just like that brown in the background, so we're not going to do that. These leaves will just be extra leaves that I can use for something. So we've got that, but what we need to do now is grab our glue, and let's see, how do I want to, I really don't want to use that particular bottle of glue. I don't want to use that one. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to go ahead and just use this one just because. All right. Look at that fine line of glue. So when you're working with really tiny dies, again, this Barely Art glue that I got this from scrapbook.com. I don't know if Simon sells it, but this stuff is just super, super. It's good glue, and I love this fine tip applicator. All right, just a little bit of. All right, so we got that. And we're just gonna, and I did decal the edge of this one. So we're gonna bring this over and flush it at the top. And make sure we get that where that's straight. There we go. So I deckled the edges on this one, but I've got the top and bottom flush. Because I like that brown. And I forgot to I think I did double check my orientation. I always do that. Won't be the first time I've put together a card upside down. It wouldn't be the first time if I were to do that. All right, so making sure my edges are glued down. If they're not, we're going to use that technique we learned from Tim. Yep, everything looks good. All right. And then the last thing, I'm going to go ahead, well, yeah, I'll need that. So the last thing, because I had one of these left over, is I just decided just to use, we're going to use this thanks. Now, I don't know if you may not like this look. I'm kind of loving it. I just really like this silhouetted. I mean, you know what it says, even without going back and dotting the A or the K or what, I mean, you know what it says. I just really, really like this. So if you don't like it, then you could, again, you can just use the whole word. Just use cut out and use the actual thanks, or you could put this over a back piece. I almost silhouetted this one, and I said, no, I actually think I'm going to leave it just the way it is. All right. This is the fun part. It's not really tedious to me. I used to, when I had a lot of small dies, and trying to do this even with the small bottle of collage medium, or and I had a fine tip pen, like an ink glue, like a liquid glue, and it got so annoying. But when I discovered this, wow, changed everything. All right, and we're going to just put that right there, and we're going to press that down. And I'm going to do that, pick up any extra glue, and just press it down. And there we go. And I think, let me see if I want to, let me just take a quick look here and see if I want to be done with this one or not. Let me take a look here. I'm not going to stamp inside. I'm just going to leave it blank. But I could stamp love and blessings on this Thanksgiving. The thanks on the front. Inside, you could stamp thankful for you. Grateful for you or whatever. To count you among my, but so anyways, I think we're good. And I love this. I never used this, but this is this stamp's this eventually will get used, because I need to make more thank you cards. So that will get used a lot. All right. So let's grab the envelope. And I think that's it. All right. I think that's card 8 or 9. Let's find out. All right. So we're going to say it's not card number 1, but there's that card. I'm going to put that right there. Let's go back to the one we did just before that. So we took this one. We used the craft card stock. We used a strip of the paper that was left over. Stamped the wheat sheath on it, put the leaf on it that we cut out of the paper, and stamped grateful for you on it. So there's that one. We've got this one, which again, this one kind of just came together. I was just playing around with the ink cubes and just swiping them on that paper that came with it. I don't know what color this is. I don't remember. We actually didn't use the other 3, so that'll go into the craft stash stock or whatever. But we just swiped it, and then we used 4 different thanks. We used the inside and the outside of both that was cut out of the paper, and we just alternated the silhouette with the words. And then at the end there, I had these strips left over, and I just went ahead and put those on there. And I did decal the edge of this, give us a nice little border, nice little teal border. It kind of matches, looks good to me. And so there's that card. And then we've got this card right here, which was, again, this was just the paper. We deckled all 4 edges, left a nice border, used a green card base, because it just kind of, that just kind of matched that greenish background. On this one, we stamped the whole picture. We stamped the wheat with the bow and everything. Put thankful for you, to count you among my blessings. And so that was a super simple card, because you can stamp on this paper. Don't think that you can't. You can see it. And sometimes different color ink works too. Just be careful. If you try an ink and it doesn't work, it's not dark enough or whatever, make sure you're using a stamping platform, because then you can just go over it with a darker ink. And then we have this card. And this one I didn't do a lot with it. I had a card base, and I had the idea. This was a card base already printed, already designed, came in a box, again, we got from Hobby Lobby. And I just stamped on it with the 2 pieces of wheat, and then put up the top, sending warm, heartfelt wishes from our home to yours. We did that using the ground espresso archival ink. The only thing I did different, would have done differently, is I left the ribbon. I wouldn't have stamped that, and I would have just left it and just done the wheat like I did here, stamped it and had the wheat coming up. I could have brought this down and just had the wheat coming out from behind, just adding to the image that was already there. But then I did color that in with a brown marker, and I think it looks okay. But I would do that different next time. So we've got that card. That's number 5. We come over here, number 6. This one really became one of my favorites. This may be my favorite. There's 2 I'm going to show you. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to set that aside. Let's go ahead and grab the one that's not my favorite, just because I'm not good at it. Let's go ahead and grab. I made a shaker card, and so here's the shaker card, and I liked it. It worked. It's pretty cool. So we used the cutout, and we put. And if you remember, we added some extra cardstock to make it sturdy. Put the acetate behind it. Now, I did add glitter in with the sequins, and I will say this, that I was showing my wife and shaking it, and glitter was coming out. Now, it's not coming out anymore, so as I've pressed everything down, apparently that glue needs to take a little time to make sure it seals good. There's a little glue on my little glitter, so maybe it is kind of trying to come out. There could be a little opening somewhere. So maybe if you use glitter, you want to, you don't want to get too carried away with it, but definitely the sequins aren't going to fall out. But there's that one, shaker card, and we added the little pieces inside there, and that just looks really neat. It's not bad. I'm not the best at shaker cards, but there's the shaker card. All right, and then we got another one here. This one was super simple. Again, this one we deckled the edges of the paper that came with the kit. Cut it a little bit smaller than this card base. We cut one of the cutout leaves, and then we did the thanks with the gold background, the gold metallic paper, and also the letters cut out of the paper. And then we raised that up with a little bit of foam tape. So this one was super simple. It's good too. I like that card. But now that being said, these last 3 cards are hands down my favorite cards. So this is the card that was a happy accident. Okay, just tried the technique where we just stenciled in the 3 leaves, and because we got some ink in the wrong places, I went back and I used the tap technique, and I absolutely love this, and then stamped love and blessings on this Thanksgiving. I mean, I absolutely love this card. And then we put that, we deckled the edges, and we put that over a sort of a greenish, light greenish, whatever color, I don't know, a sage card base. Could have even deckled a little bit more to give a little bit more border, but that right there is quite possibly, that's one of my favorite cards. This is the one where we experimented with the paint and the spatter, and I love the way that spatter came out. Once we realized you got to add plenty of water, we put it over that metallic background paper that was already kind of that grayish, and then we had a strip of paper that we used left over, and I just deckled the edge and put that on the edge to give it a little change in picture and dimension. We put one of the leaves we cut out there, and then we did gold on gold with the thanks, gold letters on the gold silhouette. And that card there is also one of my favorites from this kit. So we'll put that right there. But then this one was just a pleasant surprise for me. Had some 6x6, well, 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 cards. So we took the paper, we deckled the edge. I didn't leave room for the white border, but you can see it's there enough. Even though this is square, and it kind of hangs over in a couple of places, it's not going to hurt anything. But it just deckling the edge, and that metallic, and then using that honey ink from the positively saturated honey, and putting that background in there, stamping Happy Thanksgiving, love and blessings. Super, super simple. Just cut it out, inked it, stamped it, put the paper. I mean, just, I don't know, love that card. So all in all, we have, and they're not going to fit on camera here. So let's try this. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we got 10 cards. I'm going to make 3 or 4 cards, and I wind up making, once I get started, I can't stop. So there you are, guys. There's all the cards that we made in this kit this month. And I'm super excited that I'm going to get this video edited, and we're going to get it posted just in time for the December kit to be going out. Mine, Simon Said Stamp, it's in the mail. So that'll be coming soon. So we'll play with that kit. But, you probably already finished this, but just in case, these are ideas that you can use. If you ever have if you have a giant die or something like that, or a stamp set, you can use it to just cut out that silhouette, and then just use your die sentiments, and just keep it simple. You can ink and stamp, just so much in this kit. Hopefully these techniques taught you a little something, gave you some ideas. But again, these 2 are probably my favorite. This one, and probably in order, I would go 1, 2, and then 3. And then all the rest of them, I just love how simple they were and how easily they came together. But there you are, guys. 10 cards with the kit. And I hope that that has given you some good ideas. And until next time, as always, Pastor Ian here saying that the ability to create, I believe, is a gift from God. So as always, until next time, happy Krabby Crafting, and God bless.